Okay, now we're recording for Monday, September 27th, 2021. Let's all join and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carol, can we have a roll call, please?
Jim Batson.
Here.
Kara Benjamin.
Here.
Don Carmichael.
Here.
Kara Drumkey.
Here.
Lisa Hessel. Sanal Kulkarni.
Here.
Casey Rooney.
Here.
Okay, we note that Lisa Hessel is out and I'm covering for tonight. So welcome, everybody. Just review the agenda real quick. We have a few communications items, the superintendent report, our student report. That's after the public comment. We start with the public comment and then a consent vote agenda. Items from the Personnel and Program and Personnel Committee, and then items from the Facilities and Finance Committee. Little Illinois Association of School Boards. Anything from CEDAW tonight? Okay, some notes from CEDAW, and then future agenda items, opportunity, followed by adjournment. So we will get started. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on public comment? Okay.
What's that buzzing sound?
Pull it down just a little bit. There you go.
Just that?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jaden Schwartz. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm a senior at Vernon Hills High School. I'm also a writer in journalism for the Scratching Post. I'm writing an article about increased LGBTQIA plus representation and pronoun transparency within Vernon Hills High School. There's been a rise in awareness for sexual and gender identity ever since the COVID-19 pandemic hit. And with the increase in this awareness, conversations about pronouns have also become more normal to discuss with teacher and student relationships. LGBTQIA plus high schoolers at Vernon Hills feel provoked to talk about why queer representation and pronouns are so important. First, I want to define a few words for you. Non-binary means genders that don't fall into one of the male or female categories. Transgender means people whose gender identity is different from the gender they were assigned at birth, meaning that people do not need to transition to become male or female, but instead they identify as a different gender than they were assigned. And cisgender is someone that identifies as the gender that they were assigned at birth. Alex Karsten, a senior at Vernon Hills High School, uses he, they, she pronouns and identifies as gender fluid. Gender fluid is relating to a person who does not identify themselves as having a fixed gender. Alex claims that there has been an increase of LGBTQIA pride within Vernon Hills, but we also have a lot of areas for improvement. They recommended things like reading more text with queer characters, including more queer-centered focus in history. Also in health class, we can focus on education with sexualities and LGBTQIA plus sexual education instead of just focusing on cis-het sex. Even though the LGBTQIA plus inclusive curriculum bill was passed to include LGBTQIA plus studies in classes, I have not had any teachers discuss these topics, and I admit that my experience could differ from the experience of others. When teachers don't ask their students for their pronouns, it causes a lot of discomfort for transgender and non-binary students. But they are still grateful for the teachers that do ask for their pronouns. Some ways to combat this discomfort would be by asking teachers to create forms in which students can submit their pronouns in private. The teachers could also ask the students if they feel comfortable being referred to by these pronouns in front of the class, in private, or both. This avoids telling the whole class if the student is not comfortable to do so. Another area for improvement would be the locker rooms and bathrooms. Although a lot of progress has been made with the gender-neutral bathrooms and locker rooms, they are not very accessible for transgender or non-binary students. For instance, the gender-neutral changing rooms are far away from both the female and male locker rooms and the dance locker rooms. Every day for class, male-presenting students, transgender students, and non-binary students use the gender-neutral locker room or the male locker room, which is located farther away from the dance gym than the female-presenting students have to walk to. Again, there has been a lot of progress made with providing gender-neutral changing rooms, but I believe that we can still do more. Some recommendations to support the LGBTQIA+ representation are educating teachers on what transgender and what non-binary means, and simply helping them learn about gender and sexual identities. Educating teachers about these identities should not be the role of students coming out to their teachers, but instead the role of the district to teach the faculty. Along with this, social studies, language arts, language and fine arts teachers should include LGBTQIA+ history and moments of injustice in the curriculum. Just like how D128 schools continuously talk about race and ethnicity, LGBTQIA+ studies should be taught as well. I believe that as a district we provide, I believe that as a district that strives to be daring, we can make D128 an inclusive place for students that were part of the LGBTQIA+ community. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the board? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the president's report. We have the student school board representatives, so take it away.
All right.
Can everyone hear me?
Mhm.
All right, perfect. Vernon Hills will be starting off today. So we're going to start off with athletics. So congratulations to the boys golf team for winning conference. Dylan Josephson easily placed first place with a score of 73 and beat his second place opponent by 5 strokes. A couple strokes behind him, though, AJ Kaprowski placed 7th, Adam Brand placed 8th, and Kartik Vasudeva placed 10th. This team will be playing regionals on Wednesday at White Deer, which is their home course. Also, congrats to the girls golf team who also placed first in conference. Lexi Schulman placed 2nd with a score of 79. Right behind her, Anna Lee placed 5th, Tiffany Kang placed 8th, and Emily Jones and Irene Im tied for 10th. Great job, ladies. In addition, our seniors have made an effort to advertise our senior nights. So on social media and also just my word to word, a bunch of seniors are talking to each other to try to get people out to their events. So such as boys golf, that's not a sport people usually don't come out for. And this year for senior night, I think we had maybe 6 or 7, which is still a low number, but it was great to see a couple people show up for that. I was one of them and I had a great time. And the ones that do have large crowds, for senior nights, they're getting bigger ones. For example, the girls volleyball team will be having their senior night on Thursday, and they have been advertising it for about a week now, and they are expecting a pretty large crowd. At our football games, we've had an excellent number of students attend our home games. With our senior section at full capacity, plus the other classes filling up the rest of the student section, in addition, our turnout to away games has also been outstanding. Even though it was mostly juniors and seniors, our last week's game against Deerfield filled up the whole student section for the away, smaller section. We had our first dance of the year, the kickoff dance, and it was a huge success. Over 800 students attended this, and even with a rough weather in the beginning with lightning, we were still able to make it out into the field and have a great time. 800 is over 50% of our student body, which is excellent. This is a great way to show both the freshmen and sophomores how dances go at VH. At the dance, we had 5 senior groups perform their lip syncs, and the overall support was amazing. Each group was not there to win, but there to have fun. Every group cheered for each other, and when all groups were all done, they all came together and congratulated each other. Nick Heiser, one of the members of Cougar Watch, said that the kickoff dance was the best day of his high school career by a long shot. The winners of the lip sync were the Cougar Watch, and they'll be performing at the homecoming assembly on October 8th. As another month has passed, students have gotten more used to masks in school. For most, wearing a mask for 6+ hours straight has become second nature to them, but others have needed a constant reminder to wear their mask properly. Hopefully, as the months keep passing by, students will continue to wear their masks correctly. This month, seniors have been training for the Rite Assembly. The Rite Assembly is on one of our half days, October 13th, where freshmen come in and get into small groups do some icebreakers, and listen to some motivational speakers. As seniors, we welcome the freshmen and try to create a safe space for them to talk about anything they would like. Our final training is tomorrow to finalize who is in what group, what teachers are in what group, and what the groups are going to be doing for their activities. Now to Tiffany.
Thank you, Kevin. So tonight we have our first orchestra concert, which you probably noticed when you were walking in. And this is our first live concert of the year and our first one since the pandemic began. The students have been working hard since the first day of school, and they are beyond excited to show off all their hard work. This brings excitement to the whole school because many students are excited to go and watch them because this is the first fine arts performance in a long time. The parents of David Dang, a senior who plays violin, says, "We can't wait to see the performance after all those days practicing after school." Our JSA club has kicked off the school year with some amazing debates. Being able to discuss with one another in person and not over Zoom has brought a lot of excitement and new faces to JSA. Some of the debate topics so far have been troops in Afghanistan, heartbeat bills, the Second Amendment, COVID vaccines, and abortion rights. These have allowed students to hear different perspectives and learn more about the opposite point of view. We had open house on Thursday, September 2nd, and Vernon Hills parents walked their students' schedules and got to meet all of their teachers. Despite masks and COVID concerns, teachers said that their classrooms were full of eager parents. Students in NHS volunteered at this event to point parents in the right direction in the hallways and help them find classrooms. Dr. Gilliam and the administration team met with freshman parents to address the top 10 questions that all new parents have, which helped reassure them with any concerns that they may have had. 2 weeks ago, we had our Yellow Ribbon Week to raise awareness for mental health and suicide prevention. The Spark Exec Board wrote messages of encouragement with chalk in front of the school to brighten people's day as they walked in. Throughout the week, we had different activities for each day. For example, we had staff welcoming students with socially distanced high fives and smiles before school started. We all wore yellow one day. We signed posters as a pledge. We had informational booths in the foyer, and we had so much more. With the transition going back to normal school, many teachers have continued their generosity from last year and are allowing students to retake many, if not all, of their quizzes and tests. While this has been a great opportunity for us students to show that we know the material and also to help boost our grades, it has been a struggle to get this done. The testing center in the ARC has been overcrowded basically every day before and after school. Even though it's open during all periods during the day, many students need and want to take it before or after school because they have limited time for lunch and they want to use this time to eat. And so this has resulted in delays for test retakes because the room only allows for about 20 students since it's pretty small and it's first come, first serve. So after it gets filled, unfortunately, they have to start kicking people out and telling them to come another day. But all of our teachers have been very flexible and understanding with this and allowed for extensions, but it has been frustrating for both students and teachers. And an update on our new STEM capstone class, many of us have now figured out what experiment that we want to research and conduct, such as if food dye has an effect on organisms, if aloe vera can help people with cancer, and how stress hormones can affect cancer cells. As you can see, there's a big variety of what we can research, which is amazing because we get a lot of freedom to explore whatever we are interested in, especially with the help of mentors. For example, I wanted my project to be something with neuroscience because I know this is something I'm interested in. I was struggled with where I wanted to go with this. So last week, I was able to have a call with a mentor who specializes in neuroscience, who helped me brainstorm some ideas and lead me to where I want my project to go. Also, many of us need materials that are not standard in an ordinary science class, like mice or cancer cells. So Mr. ProScience has been helping us to see what materials are in the budget, and what will be allowed in the lab. And now on to Sophia.
The VHHS VH2O Club has started a new zero waste initiative in the cafeteria to teach students about sustainability and environmental health. The idea originally started back in 2019, but because of COVID, they had to put it aside until now. The cafeteria is using several trash bin stations with National Honor Society members volunteering their lunch periods to help sort trash into the appropriate bins. The trash gets sent to a company who later turns it into compost, and as of now, more than 20 pounds of compost have been produced just from the VHHS cafeteria. Mr. Greenawalt and Mr. Wolf are the staff leaders for this initiative, and after talking to Mr. Greenawalt, I learned that the club plans to roll out a more educational perspective of the initiative to show students what the impact of environmental sustainability is. Students are cooperating with the initiative at the moment, and more support is being added to it as it starts to expand from the cafeteria. The staff and administration at VHHS has been focusing on encouraging inclusion and diversity as the year moves forward. 2 weeks ago, various affinity groups like Jewish Student Union, Latin American Student Organization, Sexuality and Gender Acceptance Organization, Asian Student Union, Black Student Union, and many more met during class day periods as Fun Friday activities. Each club invited students who either identify with these affinity groups or wanted to be allies to come in and get to know each other. The experience created a safe and welcoming environment for new students, as well as a space for them to share similar experiences and build trust. The turnout for all of these groups was great, and more students were reported to have joined these clubs after the Fun Friday activity. To add to this increase in inclusion at VHHS, LGBTQ+ students have reported feeling a sense of inclusion from teachers in their classes. At the beginning of the year, more teachers asked students for pronouns in their Get to Know You activities. Additionally, some teachers have put up pride flags in their classrooms, as well as LGBTQ+ safe space labels all over the school. This shift in sensitivity has benefited to our school's LGBTQ+ community, but many will agree that there's still some progress to be made. As many of you have heard, VHHS has a new dance gym. The facility is incredible, and many of us, including Ms. Jaffe, are very thankful for having a space to practice. However, senior student Drayden Schwartz couldn't help but point out to me that the changing rooms for these dance classes are only accessible to female identifying students. Any students not fitting that description need to run across the school to the normal locker rooms to change for class, and then risk being late to their next class by having to follow this routine every day. Although dance is a mostly female-dominated class, non-female students shouldn't have to worry about having a place to comfortably change for classes. Additionally, non-binary and transgender students from all gym classes have to go through the process of changing in other rooms, even further down by the basement. After noticing this, we reached out to several non-binary students about the situation, and they expressed their experience as being more of an uncomfortable and time-consuming hassle than using the male/female changing rooms, and that in the near future, the space in these rooms might run out. While we are appreciative that the board as well as the school administration have made progress on these issues before, students like Jaden and myself hope that the board can take this into consideration and come up with a way to improve further upon these issues. The Ronald McDonald Care Mobile also visited our school this past month. It is a portable nurse program that allows some of our students to get their physicals done who may have otherwise not had the opportunity to do so. It's an important equity initiative as it meets the needs of those who don't have access to resources that many others do. And lastly, congratulations to Anirudh Adiraju, Ella Bohm, Laura Doller, Joel Kim, Jackie Liu, Devin Mulcrone, and Andrew Tikhonov on becoming VHHS's 2021 National Merit semifinalists. These students scored at the top 0.5% of their class nationally on the PSAT and have achieved a very high honor status from doing so. Way to go, guys. And now on to Libertyville.
All right. So the energy and excitement from the start of the school year has carried out through the first month at Libertyville High School. First, I just want to talk a little bit about how students are feeling like being back at school. Just a general consensus from the students that they're really glad to be back and excited to be back at school and enjoying going to classes every day. School spirit and school culture is at an all-time high at Libertyville High School. Like to just shout out the administration, our faculty, and the upperclassmen. They've been doing a really good job aiding the underclassmen and contributing to this culture that we have that is so fantastic. Classes are seeing a big shakeup this year. There's lots of different policies being implemented through them. Teachers are required to have a retake policy. Overwhelmingly, students are enjoying this retake policy and taking teachers up on this opportunity. Teachers enjoy having this retake policy, but they have said that a small minority of their students are not using their time correctly and taking advantage of this policy. Some English teachers have expressed some difficulty with the retake policy in terms of writing. They don't think it's really the best to have kids continually revising essays and whatnot. They'd rather that they take what they learned and focus it forward, but the overwhelming majority of people are enjoying these and really taking good use of them. Also, teachers have been implementing what is called an equitable grading scale. I think it's at a school board level, like the whole grading policy, So essentially, students are supposed to hit learning targets, and homework doesn't really count for points. It's to supplement your education, and tests are like out of a certain number. So kids don't have such a dramatic drop from 50 to 0, which is failing a class. They have more of an opportunity and they can keep reaching it. And that comes into the retake, like attaining it. Teachers have been doing their best to explain it, but kids have said there's not as much transparency as they'd like. It's kind of thrown on them this year, and it'll take a little more time for them to get used to it. School programs have taken off this in the early part of the year. One in particular, in early September, we had our self-care week, followed by, as what they had, the Yellow Ribbon Week. Dr. Nelson, our prevention and wellness coordinator, put that on for us. During self-care week, students were encouraged to think about themselves and their current state of their mental and physical health. After coming back from not being at school for such a long time, students were really grateful for having this reminder to be more cognizant of their mental health and physical health. I know just talking with students, they love being back, but it's a big difference from being at home all year. And, well, you know, you had the little part at the end of the year, but there's a lot more on their plate. There's a lot more stressors. Sports are back, and there's just a lot more they need to handle. So it was very great that Dr. Nelson was able to put that on. That was followed by our Yellow Ribbon Week, which they talked a little bit about. It's about suicide prevention and like overall mental wellness. Throughout the week, the Friday before, students and faculty were encouraged to come tie-dye yellow shirts to be worn during the week to support solidarity with the program. Students decorated the halls and were given stickers and pins with nice little sayings on them to kind of encourage kids to always be aware and have a great day. Throughout the week, during their lunch periods, they had activities and discussions about being open with your mental health and making sure that they know all the resources, both student and faculty run, that you can go to at the high school. I heard from students that they appreciated knowing that there was a place for them to go if they ever had any trouble, because lots are having trouble with all the stress that comes with being back at school. And I was a part of one discussion, and learning more about your classmates is a really great thing. And it helps you put yourself more in their shoes and to be able to understand everything about them. And it's really important that we have more open discussions like this in a place where kids can come. Teachers have made a point of emphasis about checking in with their classes more, because they know about all the added stress that has come with this year, even with all the great things that have happened. Just a little switch up. The juniors are taking the PSAT, I believe, October 13th, and the underclassmen will have a kind of an assembly where, through Dr. Nelson, our prevention and wellness coordinator, seniors and other students, or mostly seniors, because juniors will be taking the test, will have an open discussion about these resources, because they knew about it through Yellow Ribbon Week, but they weren't as aware as, upperclassmen, because they've been through this. So they'll just discuss that, and our Green Dot program, which is, I think I mentioned last time, our anti-bullying and culture of the high school. So that will happen. About masks, seniors, or not seniors, but the entire school, I believe, is doing a pretty good job. The faculty is making sure that they keep hammering that point that everyone needs to be wearing their mask and wearing them correctly, so they have a use. Some students, there's always going to be a few that leave it down, but other students also encourage that they put their masks up and be healthy and be safe. Clubs have seen a rapid increase in participation this year from prior years. I know Leaf Club, which I'm in, has an all-time high. And just a little bit about that, we created a natural prairie in our courtyard, and many classes are taking advantage of that and going outside and learning in the nature. And I've heard from many students that it is great when the teacher has on the door, head out to the prairie classroom, we're going to go have class there. Dr. Calentes and Dr. Herman were actually in an AP environmental science class, trying to hear a little bit more about what their efforts are and how the class is kind of run. So I was actually in that class, we ran a simulation, and they weren't with my group, but I think they got to know a little bit more about how the classes run and where we're trying to head with classes like that in the future of the school. And I just want to kind of bring it back to the point of this high school. During the summer, Dr. K stressed the importance of restoration, renewal of Libertyville culture, and the entire class is doing a fantastic job with that. School spirit is an all-time high. When I was a freshman or sophomore, I don't remember a time where kids of all grades were showing up to every sporting event. It's not the football games anymore. It's the volleyball games. It's the soccer games. I saw a few at the cross country meet. Like everyone's going, and it's the seniors leading by example, and freshmen are coming out, sophomore, and it's just so good for like our camaraderie and our spirit. I just thought I'd like to mention that I know many people from other schools, and I never hear kids, or the majority of kids, say they really enjoy going to school and they enjoy everything the school has to offer and they appreciate going there. So I just want to wrap it up with that. So I'll pass over to Ryan for some sports updates.
Okay, so our fall sports seasons are well underway with cross country, golf, football, boys soccer, hockey, girls swimming and diving, girls tennis, girls volleyball, palms, and cheer, practicing and competing. Members of these teams have said that their experiences have felt almost normal compared to last year, with the exception of masking for indoor practices. They also feel overwhelming support from the school and their peers, with turnout for all sporting events being super high. Also, members have said that they feel closer bonds with their teammates, with longer seasons, more contests, and generally closer contact than what we experienced last year. There's also been a lot of student enthusiasm for football games this year. On game days, the marching band drumline plays in the hallways before school, LHS plays the school song between classes, and overall, there's an excited feeling amongst students. Our team has had a few big wins, one notably being 76-6 against Waukegan, setting the school record for most points in a game. This record was previously set in 1923. Congratulations to our football team. Our first home game was against Lake Zurich. It was really well attended, and students said it felt normal, and they were really excited to be back in the stands cheering on our team. Our second game against Waukegan was a little bit less attended, especially in the second half. However, many senior students stayed in support of our team. The marching band, Palms team, and cheer team all performed at these games, and we're really excited to perform for such a large audience, and compared to last year where it mainly was parents. We also have had a great turnout to our away games, including underclassmen who usually don't show up to those kind of events. But a lot of them were showing up, and in addition to the upperclassmen who usually fill the stands. Libertyville's Principals Advisory Board held their first meeting last week. This group is made up of students of all grades who provide a voice for the rest of the school on any student issues or opinions, or like current events at the school. These students then provide their input to Dr. K to create initiatives or ideas to continuously improve LHS. We are excited to see what these students will do in the coming months. Libertyville also has a very busy week ahead of us. It's our Spirit Week to get ready for the homecoming dance Saturday, with this year's theme being Rock the Ville. And this is all organized by our amazing student council. Today was Tropical Day, which had a great turnout. I saw a lot of tropical shirts, sunglasses, and leis from all of our students. The upperclassmen definitely led the way in spirit, with the most people dressing up. But the freshmen and sophomores are catching on to our Libertyville pride, and I think they're getting a little bit more like bold, like in being able to dress up. Monday and Tuesday, we have float building to design and build floats for the homecoming parade Saturday. We also have an annual girls powder puff flag football game this Wednesday for senior students. Seniors form teams complete with coaches and cheerleaders, and some teams have held practices outside of school these past few weeks. Seniors are very excited about this because it's a return to another one of our classic homecoming traditions. We've also created a new Libertyville tradition by switching our homecoming court around a little bit this year. 20 senior students who represent every aspect of Libertyville's culture has been voted on by teachers and peers and will be honored at our Assembly Friday and Parade Saturday. Congrats to our 2021 homecoming court. Friday, we have our homecoming assembly to celebrate our Wildcat spirit, watch performances by our band, cheer, and Palms teams, and find out which grade will win the Spirit Cup. For our first year back, the Spirit Cup is up for grabs, and it's going to be a very intense competition, seeing if the seniors will win it this year. Friday, we not only have our football game against Lake Forest, but also a soccer game against Carmel. These events are at 4:30 and 7:30, and enthusiasm and spirit have been building up all week for the Cats to win. Finally, Saturday, we have the homecoming parade and dance that evening. The dance is slightly different than it would be in a normal year, beginning at 6:30 p.m., and it's being held outdoors. Typically at this time of year, Link Crew leaders at LHS talk to their freshman groups and just talk them through the whole homecoming process, including buying tickets, getting dinner reservations, and just how the dance works. This is really helpful for many freshmen because the dance is such a new concept for them. In addition to that, this year, a few Link Crew leaders held special sessions for members of the sophomore class who also haven't gotten an opportunity to participate in a high school dance either. Talking to some underclassmen, most are excited but a little bit nervous for their first homecoming. Some are a bit sad that it isn't in the gym as always, but overall, the students are thankful that we are returning to an almost normal dance. I can feel a lot of energy and excitement in the hallways this week, and I'm sure it will continue to grow in anticipation of the weekend. Finally, over the past few weeks, LHS has been hosting representatives from many major colleges to talk to our senior and junior students. Around 75% of the representatives are in person and 25% are virtual, which actually has worked really well with few technical issues. Hearing from senior students and also from my experience, the visits are super helpful in, making decisions, asking questions to those representatives, and also just learning information about college or college options. And most of the people that have been there have been seniors. However, there are a few juniors that have chosen to attend as well. And I'm going to pass it off to Faith.
I don't know if my mic is on just because the green light is
Do you want me
on.
to pass you mine and you can use that?
Thank you. Hi, good evening, everybody. So I just want to start off to say a huge part of Libertyville's community and what makes it so special is the excellence of academics we have at LHS. The performing arts as well is not only shows the intelligence of LHS, but also carries over the overall creativity that we have at our school as well. I work at Townie Square Restaurant in downtown Libertyville and get to firsthand experience the positive words I hear about LHS from the community and how excited parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and everyone is to see their students so involved in our community, whether that's window painting or doing extra credit choir shows at the local church or old folks home, seeing LHS athletes' pictures in the windows of your favorite local shops. It's all just so exciting for our community and for the parents of our students. This is what LHS and the people are and what it makes it so special. At LHS, we recently had a performing arts fall band concert on September 23rd, where students got to display their amazing musical abilities, to families, friends, and more. Without the LHS band, football games would not be the same. The excitement and passion they bring to their skill and our student body is so impressive and so memorable. Going to LHS Theater, the school musical Matilda will be happening on October 28th, 29th, and 30th for parents and adults to see for anyone who's interested. Not only the cast, but the crew and directors put so much work and effort into what they present to the community and practice every day after school for several hours. They put so much effort into this musical, and it's seriously so important for our student body to go and participate in watching this, because I have a few friends in theater and it's crazy the amount of passion they put into these musicals. Choir as well will be having a concert coming up very soon, but the date is not decided yet. As a student that has been in choir all 4 years and done other groups such as acapellas and as an exec member of the choir board, I can easily tell you choir has helped me so much find something that can boost my mood if I'm having a difficult day. Choir and band will be going to Richardson Farms for a field trip on October 12th, which is something we haven't been able to do since 2019, which was my sophomore year. So being able to go there again and have these memorable things with your friends and being able to take pictures is something that's really crazy to think about. Community Ed began September 8th, and I've heard many good things from people in the community and even know some regulars at the diner involved in them. September 8th was also the start of Yellow Ribbon Week, which were both easily big successes, as John mentioned. Personally, Yellow Ribbon Week hits very close and is a very important topic I believe our school needs to bring awareness to for our students. Going into academics, LHS is cruising very smoothly, and I've heard very normal jargon from students about their classes. Partially, yes, complaining about homework and texts and quizzes, but that's never going to stop. It's always going to be a regular thing. But also, actually being in front of their teachers instead of over a screen has been so great for all of our students. Me as well. I struggled with Zoom and, having to learn math, oh my gosh, of all things, over a screen, and being able to in person come and see my teachers and get that help and really experience that learning face to face has been so important to me. The PSAT, as John mentioned, is being held on October 13th, and LHS is wishing all students taking it good luck and to make sure to get a good breakfast before and plenty of sleep beforehand. The National ACT was held on September 11th, and from some friends I know that took it also went fairly smoothly. As much as LHS takes extracurriculars and the student voice seriously, they also want every student to have academic success in their education. Thank you for listening, and make sure to go to the HOCO football game to see our athletes, performing arts, and Powder Puff. Well, I will be participating on the field.
Thank you.
Well done.
Well done. Yeah, it's so exciting to hear all the things that are going on in our two schools. It's really nice that you can come share that with us and each month. So we appreciate it. So moving on, we have the superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you. And I have a little bit of additional good news. The students covered most of it, so thank you very, very much. I will start off by adding the LHS students who are recognized as the 2021-22 National Merit semifinalist. That is Luke Anderson, Owen Haywood, George Huber, Ryan McGregory, Emma Moscato, Molly Moscato, Elim Na, Nikhil Patel, and Andrew Sorensen. And thank you. You already read the Vernon Hills, so thank you to all of the students for performing so well. We wish them luck in the next level of competition for the National Merit. Also at Libertyville High School, they are proud to announce that the first class of inductees will be into the Athletic Hall of Fame. They'll be introduced and celebrated during homecoming activities the week of October 1st. The LHS Athletic Hall of Fame was organized to recognize and honor those Wildcat athletes, teams, and coaches who excel in their respective sports or coaching roles, and who help bring honor, recognition, distinction, and excellence to LHS. And because this is their inaugural year, we'll go ahead and read the people who will be recognized. Jim McMillan, class of 1920. Dan Holm, class of 1971. Brett Butler of 75. Pam Miller from 76. Allison Marquette of 91. Becky Coleman, 93. Kelly Carl, 94. Eric Van Gotham, 97. Kevin Walter, 99. And then on to the coaches. Coach Max Sanders, class of 59. Coach Jim Panther. Coach Chris Terzna. Thank you. Coach Randy Kucheski. Coach Andy Bitta. And the 1991 girls soccer team. Also, a really important announcement, the D128 Foundation for Learning will have its annual fundraiser, the big event, on Saturday, November 6th. It will take place from 7 to 9 p.m. and it will be virtual. It will include a live trivia competition, silent auction, a raffle, and paddle race for students in need. A registration will start on October 1st, with all the details being available on the website. All proceeds benefit programs for LHS and VHHS students. And then finally, the Illinois Association of School Board Leaders recognize school board members for the individual time and talent they've devoted to learning and leadership activities provided by the association. At the fall division meeting, 2 D128 board members received recognition. Jim Batson received a certificate for maintaining his master board member status. And Don Carmichael received a lapel pin for earning Master Board Member Level 1 status. Please join me in recognizing our board members. And that's all of my good news for tonight. Next up, I wanted to share briefly with the board and the community that we continue to move forward with our strategic planning process. I want to compliment people on the data team for pulling together, it seems like hundreds and hundreds of sets of data. We reviewed some of it this afternoon to answer the question, where are we now? Our next session will take place on November 2nd, and that will be an all-day session, and it will be in person. So again, we're continuing to move through that process. At our meeting in August, we talked about having a special board session rather than having it be on the evening. However, I think I realized that there's a conflict for 2 board members. So I will be working with Lisa and Jim and others to make sure it's essential to me that all 7 board members can be there to participate. So look for another opportunity there. And then I'm going to turn it over to Bryant for a COVID-19 update.
Thank you. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Try to make the print as big as possible so you guys can see, but I will just go through the slides here. So just kind of an update, because it has been a while since we've had a board meeting since August. So I just wanted to give an update. We have shared the District 128 Culture of Care Response Plan. The response plan has been updated a couple of times since we've met, and that's to align with the ISB and IDPH guidance. Along with that response plan, we have also been communicating with our staff, parents, guardians on some of the school health guidelines. So I think we've, in the past, last week we sent another update. We sent one a couple of weeks ago just on some of the guidance that we've received, from ISB, Illinois State Board of Education, and then Illinois Department of Public Health. We've also then, posted that information on the district website under D128 Next. And the D128 Next has links to our Culture of Care response plan. It also has links to our COVID-19 reporting that I'll get into in a little bit. Also on our LHS and Vernon Hills websites, the main websites, the information that has been sent to parents regarding the symptoms, and how to talk to the school nurses about the symptoms and the follow-up and testing that's required to return to school is all right there on both websites as a quick link so that everybody can see it. So we're trying to share the information in as many places as possible. Try not to inundate our families with too many emails, but also try to get that information out there as things are updated from the state. Just to review a little bit, some of our prevention strategies. Number one is to promote vaccination, and I'll get into our update on our vaccination rates. As the students talked about, consistent and correct mask use is one of our important prevention strategies. Physical distancing as much as possible. It's a lot more difficult in a larger school when you get everyone back into the buildings. But again, this is just one of the strategies, and you want to use as many of these together as possible. The other one is screening and testing, and I'll give you an update on our screening and testing a little bit. Ventilation, which Mark and his team has been working on for a couple years, which has been great. Again, we want to reiterate hand washing, respiratory etiquette, and keep talking about that. We can't forget about that as one of the basics, but we can't let that go by the wayside. Again, staying home and sick, and that's why we're communicating those. And we want our families to be in contact with our school nurses and ask questions. Our school nurses are more than happy to take time and talk to families, talk to students, talk to staff. And bear with us. Our schools have been doing, I think, a great job, not only with our learning support team, secretaries talking to families, but also our nurses. So, we're there to help as much as possible. Contact tracing with isolation and quarantine. Again, our nurses work with the Lake County Health Department based off of guidance from Illinois Department of Public Health. And that's, again, to keep students, staff, out of the building when they need to be quarantined so that we can, keep everyone else in the building healthy. And then again, cleaning and disinfecting every day, but also in other areas when we need to. So those are our prevention strategies, just a quick overview of and reminder of them again. One of the things too, as we get into flu season in promoting vaccination, the other thing is to talk about flu vaccines. And every year we provide free flu vaccines for our staff through our co-op, our insurance co-op. So hopefully our staff, they get information on that. But again, for families to take advantage of flu vaccines in the area, and you'll see them popping up now at Walgreens and other places. So talking about the data that we monitor, and this is what we've talked about before we look at the community transmission, vaccination coverage, testing, and any outbreaks. And so, let me go back here. I was trying to get to our website if I can. There it goes. So on our website, this is the data that we've been monitoring, and we update it every couple of weeks. So last time I updated was September 17th, and I'll update it again at the end of this week. We look at Lake County, the positivity rate, and then the number of cases per 100,000. And you can see from August 10th to September 17th, where that's kind of come down a little bit. In Lake County, Libertyville has, gone up a little bit and then come back down. Vernon Hills has risen a little bit over time. And I'll see what it is at the end of this week. Our vaccination coverage, to give you, Lake County is at 57%, so it's growing. But just to compare that with our D128 staff, they're at 91.5%. Our D128 students, Vernon Hills is at 75%, Libertyville is at 80%. And again, I'll get an update at the end of this week. So again, we talk about one of those things, the high vaccination rate has helped us in a lot of areas, keeping people healthy, but also limiting the number of quarantines. I'll get in a little bit on another slide about some of the testing that, we're doing and the updates on that. And then again, if you've been watching in the news at all about other schools having clusters or outbreaks, currently we don't have any, and an outbreak is defined as 2 cases connected at a school within the school environment. So the county works with our nurses on cases, positive cases, and how they were connected. So if they were 2 positive cases, but they occurred outside of a school, they're not considered a school outbreak. So it's got to be a connection within, a school environment. So that was, again, part of some of the last updates. Let's go back to testing update. So again, we talked about, weekly testing was required for unvaccinated students in extracurricular activities. So back in August, we started with unvaccinated indoor fall sport athletes, and we were using the Binax Now test. And then starting last week, because we switched over to Shield testing, we included all unvaccinated fall sport athletes. So that included indoor and outdoor. And then we added in some of our extracurricular activities, depending on the type of activity, the contact, some of the traveling via bus to some other activities. And we'll continue to add those as we go, as activities change and activities expand. So some of the fine arts was added in there, again, for our unvaccinated. Those going to homecoming, dances, powder puff, the unvaccinated students were added into our testing. So again, our unvaccinated staff members, they've been using Binax Now when we started 3 weeks ago. And then this last week, we moved over to Shield testing. So Shield got set up last week, and we work with Passport Health. And it's been, knock on wood, everything's been going well at both schools. We test two times a week. We give people 2 windows of opportunity at both schools to test. So we go Monday and Thursday. There's an opportunity Monday. I'm trying to remember the times. Monday afternoon at Libertyville and Thursday morning at Libertyville. And then at Vernon Hills is during the middle of the day on Monday during lunch periods, and the middle of the day on Thursday at lunch periods. And so our students, again, we expanded, and we'll add more people in next week. So that's a little bit of the testing update. Any questions?
Great, thank you, Bryant. And we'll move next to Mark Koopman with our update for facilities. Projects.
Thank you, Dr. Herman. The board went on a tour at our last committee meeting, so we've had some progress since we're last there. We have, they started doing the gym equipment has been starting to be installed. They have duct socks up for the HVAC system, so they're doing transitions and doing the connections for that. The construction trailer has gone outside, and today they were working on grading, spreading some black dirt, getting ready to seed, repairing some of the roadway that was damaged during construction, part of it, pouring the outside stairs, emergency exits, and finishing up outside work, sidewalks and that. Roofing has been underway. So now the driver's ed areas are totally covered, waterproof, and the flashing was finished today. So we're working our way across the roof. Approximately 8 more days of roofing, depends on weather. Ultimate goal, we have the flooring scheduled, painters are already painting more. There's, the walls had inside of first coat of orange around the bottom, which you didn't see. So it's starting to shape up. It looks great.
Any questions? All right, we had 3 Freedom of Information requests this month. One was received, it was a commercial request on the 17th of August, and it was for the bid processes. The second one was another commercial request, and it was for our copy lease agreements. The third was for staff information. It was requested on September 20th, and it is for the list of all CHSD 128's employees' first names, last names, email addresses. All were satisfied within 3 days of receipt.
In the past, we've always had an indication of how long it took a staff member to put that information together, but that's no longer a part of these reports. Not that it matters, but I kind of like to know, does it take somebody a half hour, or are we spending 3 days on these? Can we just put that back into future ones? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I think Carol had marked that down. She always asked myself or Dan Stanley about the amount of time, and we can add that back in.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, moving on. Thank you, Dr. Herman. We have the consent vote agenda. All these items were reviewed earlier in the month in committee. And so we have a consent vote agenda here for consideration. We have not a roll call, but a motion to
move to approve the consent vote agenda.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? No, hearing none. Roll call, please, Carol.
Batson,
Aye.
Benjamin,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Drumkey,
Aye.
Kulkarni,
Aye.
Rooney.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. We'll move on, and I'll hand it over to myself for the Program and Personnel Committee. We have a couple items here. The first one is employment of employees. These are additional employment changes since our committee meeting earlier in the month. So if we can have a motion, please.
I move to accept the employee resignations, hires, et cetera, as presented. Second.
Okay, any comments or questions from the board? Okay, hearing none. Can we have a roll call, please, Carol?
Benjamin,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Drumkey,
Aye.
Kulkarni,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. And we have one more item here, memorandum of agreement for the school year 21-22 sick days. Any?
sure. I'll give you a little bit of background. So we, last year, we had an agreement regarding COVID sick days for teachers that were sick themselves, had a quarantine, or had childcare issues during due to quarantining or COVID with their children. And so, but that was only a 1-year agreement. The difference too with last year is that we were remote and hybrid. And so now we're looking at full in person this year and trying to, look at all the different scenarios to try to, obviously the one thing we want to look at is our adults have the opportunity to be vaccinated. And being vaccinated allows you also not to have to quarantine in certain circumstances. So if you read through this, one of the things is there are different scenarios for staff members that are vaccinated or not vaccinated. And by our high vaccination rate of 90% for our staff, it really, I think, allows, our vaccinated staff to be able to stay in work and not have to quarantine. But if there are some circumstances, as we are aware, there are now vaccinated individuals that are, getting COVID, that, we want to be able to, take care of them as much as possible, but also look at opportunities when somebody might be at home. Can they still work? And can they still teach remotely? Because we do have some of the electronic capabilities that we didn't have maybe 2-3 years ago for them to be able to, teach at home and still have access to our students and also for our other staff. So we, worked, I think, closely with our union, teachers union, on trying to come up with all the different scenarios for this. And I don't know, is there any questions on any of it?
Have we had an instance yet where a teacher was quarantined and was teaching remotely?
Yes, we're going to be, yes. So we've had a couple of instances that we've been able to do that and see how it worked. And now obviously we're going to be putting this in place right away.
Well, that's the thing I'm wondering is how did it go?
As far as I know, it was great for the kids to be able to have their teacher there still teaching them.
And then you just have a sub sit in the classroom and then the teacher pipes in.
Yeah,
Correct.
I'll confirm that from a school standpoint. The few circumstances we've had where the teacher has really chosen to teach from home, the instruction has been able to continue. Short of that, the construction stops, hiccup, and there are some sub plans and those kinds of things, but that's really not the authentic instruction. So when that teacher is live, even via Zoom, that makes all the difference. They can continue the instruction and the curriculum moves forward. And yes, there's an adult in the building, but that's been great. And I'm really excited for this to be more formalized.
And the thing is, no matter what, even if they were at home, we'd have to pay for a sub. So it's not costing us anything extra in the end. So, you'd have a sub. So now we have a sub that's, monitoring them in person, but we have the teacher that still has access to our students.
It's terrific.
So,
Any other?
and the other thing, just real quickly, so this would be an MOA with our teachers union, but we also want to look at, for our educational support personnel or, administrators that are in this situation because they're not part of the union to be able to, afford the same, opportunities for them. So.
And that's what we've traditionally done.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions or comments related to that? So just to clarify, this motion is for the memorandum as well as the expectation that those concepts will be applied to the ESP and administrators as well.
Yep.
Just to be clear.
So we would call this an adoption of a memorandum or?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Okay. So in that case, can we have a motion, please?
I move to adopt the memorandum of agreement regarding 2021 to 22 sick days.
A second.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please. Carolyn?
Carmichael,
Aye.
Drumkey,
Aye.
Kulkarni,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Benjamin.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. I will hand this over to Chairperson Rooney for the Finance and Facilities Finance Committee.
Okay. I'm sure you've noticed that we have a few less items on the agenda than usual. Our Associate Superintendent for Finance, Dan Stanley, is not here this evening as he is enjoying some time off with his new beautiful baby girl. So we wish him congratulations on that. The first item on the agenda is the employee compensation report. We have no action required on this. This is just something that the law requires, that it's presented to the board and then it gets posted on our website by October 1st. So we saw this in committee meetings. Does anybody have any questions or comments about it? Okay, then it will move on to being published on our, published on our website. Second item, change orders. Mark, you want to chat with us? about
Maintenance
that?
project grant.
Oh, the maintenance project grant. I'm
Maintenance
sorry.
project grant, yeah.
Second item is actually the school maintenance project grant. And this is something we're just being asked to approve the application process, correct, Mark?
Correct, yes. So Dan, Dan spelled out, what the grants are for, maintenance and buildings and upkeep and things like that. We have upcoming projects that we're starting with our roofs here at Vernon Hills because it's due. So we selected the roofs that need attention right away, that are in the worst condition, and we've come up with a game plan to work around been working with our consultants to budget and work our way around the building. So we felt that when Dan and I discussed it, the roof areas in the front of the building here in the center over the foyer, and that was a perfect place to start the project, and we used the grant money for that. So I think Dan wants to just approval for put the application process in and to use those roofs as part of the application process.
Right.
We've
doesn't
used
nec-
roofs in the past. I think we also use tuck pointing. So it's like roofing, tuck pointing, window replacement, things along that line. And that the grant, when you apply for those things, they consider those things first. So.
I remember we did the tuck pointing one before, but it doesn't necessarily bind us to the project. We will be asked to vote on the actual bids for this work at some point. This is just giving permission for the application process to proceed.
And to use those projects in the application process. And we have 2 years to complete the work.
So do I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 school maintenance project grant application?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it then.
All righty.
How
Thank
does
you.
Carol know?
Carol, roll call, please.
Drumkey,
Aye.
Kulkarni,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Benjamin,
Aye.
Carmichael.
Aye.
Moving on to the change orders. Change order or orders? It looks like there's a couple different things in here, Mark.
Well, what Gilbane did, this is all with the company that was doing our sewer and water work.
Okay.
So we had a bunch of change orders. So they combined them all into one large change order instead of doing 8 change orders at the end of the process. So the reason for these change orders, the first 4 were county improvements. We submitted our drawings to the county for sewer and water, and they wanted us to make some changes and do some upgrades. So there was additional money in that. In number 5, we had additional utility location costs. The company was paid to, I believe it was go 15 feet deep, if I remember correctly, looking for the pipes for the pool. And they were actually deeper than that. So we had the additional cost of going deeper. So when we put our pylons in, we didn't rupture, the main drain for the pool and flood the area out. So that was the cost there. And then items 6 through 8 were changes the village made. And they're all due to, sewer and water work on the campus.
So the total dollar amount does require board approval then.
Yes, the total dollar amount is $46,927. There is one change order in there that is $0 value, so.
That's a good thing.
Right.
Yeah,
We like
that's a good thing.
$0 change orders.
So,
But this is coming out of contingency. It's not an additional amount.
yes, this is coming out of contingency. It's always been in the contingency budget.
All right, so can I get a motion to approve the change order in the amount of $46,927 to come out of the contingency plan?
Absolutely.
Second?
Second?
All right, thank you. Carol, roll call, please.
Kulkarni,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Hi.
Benjamin,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Drumkey.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. That concludes facilities and finance. This might actually be a record.
Yeah, so we're doing.
We haven't heard
okay.
from
It's
Kara
okay, we have
Benjamin
tax
yet.
levy
Yeah,
coming.
yeah.
So-
Kara, don't disappoint us here. So.
No pressure.
Thank you,
I just mean
Chairperson
facilities
Rooney.
and finance.
Yeah.
I can only speak to that.
Moving on, item number 6 is the Illinois Association of School Boards. And I just wanted to draw your attention to everyone received in their board packet this last Friday, the 2021 Resolutions Committee report. I will be representing the district in November at the joint conference and voting on these items. Many of them are sort of a consent agenda kind of thing, but there's a few new ones in here and some that might wind up getting pulled out. So my suggestion is take a look at them. If there's anything that really, is of interest to you, we can discuss these either in the October or the November meeting. We'll find whichever one, the committee meetings, I'm sorry. We can discuss these in our committee meetings in either October or November, whichever one has the shorter of the agendas. So just to draw your attention to that, so.
These do get some attention too. The public gets them and sends
Yeah.
us notifications or asks us if we would vote one way or another. And there's an interesting change in position this year in one of them.
Yeah, in one of them, yeah, the committee, the delegate committee changed their position on one of them, so. And then the only other update is there's our Lakes Division meeting taking place a week from Wednesday, so.
Right.
If anyone's interested in that, I will be attending on our behalf, and if anyone else wants to join us, that's great.
I have one question. This document, the committee report with the draft resolutions, is that also posted to our school district website? Typically?
This document?
Yeah.
No, not typically, no. It is on the IASB site, but it's not, we typically don't do that. Yeah.
Are you considering asking for that?
I mean, I was just wondering because Don, you just mentioned that there are some interesting things that we should look at. As a parent, I was never aware of this, so I'm just
Right.
wondering if there might be other community members who are interested. Or if not right now, once we've discussed it, maybe we can provide some notes, don't have to look at 500 pages. Maybe here are some sections of interest.
Yeah.
Thought.
Yeah, they're just as a reminder, these are sort of position items. It's belief statements and sort of positional items that the Illinois Association of School Board uses to inform their work in Springfield to discuss with our legislators down there. So it's nothing we typically vote on, or it's nothing that typically impacts us directly. These are more opinions on whether these things are important to us. And that's sort of in our committee meeting, we'll sort of get a read for if anyone has strong opinions one way or the other on any of these, so that I can appropriately vote. In the meeting that I attend in November, actually, every district has one vote. And as a delegate, I would vote yay or nay on any of the items that are called out individually and or on sort of the consent group. And that just gives them a feel for what their, the delegates, opinion on these. So they're not anything that govern us, or they're not anything that we have to abide by or respond to. It's just these are position papers basically for them to work on. So
Maybe after our conversation, we could talk about if we do think, because I mean, we have the school board page on the website. So I think sometimes posting information about board activities or board legislation would be
Sure.
helpful for parents potentially.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cedal,
I just have a brief update. So I attended the governing board meeting on the 25th of August. And at that meeting, we approved the budget for the fiscal year of 22. And then, so we went through all the documents that support that budget, and it was decided that it was up for approval. And then we also approved a 1-year extended bargaining agreement with the STU, which stands for CEDAW Teachers Union. So it's the specific teachers that all work for the CEDAW co-op.
thank you.
That's
very
it.
much.
The short and the long of it.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
yeah,
my pleasure.
a-
It's a really lovely group of people who, just their executive board, they're remarkable educators. But then, so many of their educators attend these meetings, and they just have a lovely, positive energy about them. And the students that they serve, our students who are served, are so lucky to be part of this cooperative.
Great.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
my pleasure.
Anything on a future agenda items anyone wants to add or suggest?
I know that we will be bringing the tax levy information in October at both the committee meeting and then for approval. That's one of our typical October and November. Anything else?
And then we'll look at the October or November PNP for the IASB resolution. So
yeah.
I know we did that in November of last year. I was just looking at the history, but we'll look at both agendas and figure out.
And we should probably talk in November at committee also about what sessions anybody's going to that's going to the tri-conference, so that we can divide and conquer.
Yep.
Good idea. Okay.
Also hope to bring the calendar in October and any new course proposals or changes to our curriculum in November.
Exciting times.
Yes.
It all
Busy
seems
time.
so normal.
Yeah, it does.
Oh my
it does.
gosh.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Okay, have a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please, Carol.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Benjamin,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Drumkey, Kulkarni.
Aye.
Have to rate it.
And we're finished. Thank you, everybody.